Nathan Simpson sat with his son in an Athens restaurant, playing a game they had invented. To find the smallest physical change with the largest impact, he directed his attention toward the brightly lit fast food coffee station across the room. He watched customer after customer repeat the exact same routine. They walked to the counter, ignored the cheap wooden stirrers, grabbed an expensive plastic spoon, stirred their coffee once, and threw it in the trash. The friction point was entirely spatial. The stirrers were simply too far away. So Nathan walked over and moved the stack of coffee stirrers exactly 3 feet, placing them right next to the coffee pot. The next 3 customers used the cheap stirrers. Nobody reached for a plastic spoon. The entire intervention took exactly 60 seconds. This map of 280 locations projects the scale of that 60-second intervention. It yielded $275,000 a year in savings and eliminated 15 metric tons of plastic waste. He calls this concept being 3 feet from gold. This highlights a specific reality. Severe organizational pain is rarely the result of massive, catastrophic system failures. It comes from tiny, inherited inefficiencies, a process taking 7 steps instead of 2, or a misplaced tool that everyone simply accepts. Improving a system doesn't require a sweeping, expensive innovation. It requires a person walking the floor with fresh eyes, willing to notice and fix the invisible friction that the building accepts as entirely normal. There is an old parable about a dog named Charlie resting on the porch of a country store. Every few minutes, the dog whimpers in pain. When a visitor finally asks the store owner what's wrong with the animal, the owner replies that the dog is lying directly on a protruding nail. The visitor asks the obvious question, why doesn't the dog just get up and move? The owner shrugs and says, must not hurt bad enough. That specific state, not rock bottom, but not good enough to actually feel alive, is the most dangerous place to be. It is the trap of lukewarm comfort. In corporate environments, this lukewarm comfort develops into a systemic disease. Organizations slowly stop working for growth and begin working for protection. Managers protect their positions, employees protect their jobs, and leaders protect their reputations. They learn to reward people for not messing anything up, rather than for making things better. This creates a strange paradox for high performers. Top producers frequently find themselves labeled toxic by middle management. They move quickly, they raise the standard, and make a comfortable building uncomfortable. The environment simply lacks the tolerance for high performance. The true efficiency killer inside these buildings isn't a missing software tool or a broken supply chain. It is institutional fear. Companies mask this fear under the umbrella of human resources, but in practice, they run it strictly as risk management. When fear governs a building, protecting a familiar legacy project becomes the priority. Actual impact becomes invisible to the systems meant to measure it. And when impact isn't visible, it isn't rewarded, which guarantees your most capable talent will quietly pack up and leave. Nathan's response to this stagnation is a philosophy he calls the super servant leader. It requires a complete reversal of the managerial posture. A leader's job is not to protect their own title, but to actively remove the obstacles standing in the way of the people on the front lines. This flowchart illustrates what Nathan calls the filter and the river. Large institutions have a habit of building unnecessary, semi-opaque layers between a worker and the resources they need. People end up standing in a dimly lit room, waiting their turn for a filtered sliver of light, instead of stepping directly into the source. Servant leaders dismantle those filters. They do this by caring enough to challenge bad systems and speak uncomfortable truths, rather than flattering their teams. Sometimes that means walking the floor and directly telling a department that the project they are fiercely protecting is underperforming. You don't protect something just because you built it. You fix it. This requires abandoning the golden egg mindset. Leaders often paralyze themselves by sitting on one prized idea for years, waiting for the perfect time to execute a flawless plan. The waiting itself is the failure. Ideas do not grow in isolation. Once Nathan stopped waiting for perfect conditions, he launched multiple operational software tools in a single year, platforms like Scantalog and Warehouse IQ. He saw friction on the warehouse floor, pulled out his old notebook sketches, and immediately built the solutions. True leadership means stepping off the script. You do what you know right now until you know what to do next. You don't need to be completely ready before you start, because readiness is forged exclusively through the act of building. Today, a single operator can use artificial intelligence to scale their ability to fix things. With AI tools, one person can observe a bottleneck on a warehouse floor in the morning and build a working software solution to solve it by the afternoon. But there is a dark side to this scale. Nathan calls it the MySpace warning. Professional networks are currently flooding with AI-generated insight, written specifically to harvest AI-generated engagement. It is a loop of generic, fake deep leadership advice that appeases the algorithm but teaches nobody anything. Automation can write code, but a language model cannot walk a physical plant floor. It cannot notice that a stack of wooden coffee stirrers is sitting on the wrong counter. It cannot recognize the hidden physical friction points that humans navigate every day. Look at this split screen. On the left is a perfectly formatted block of generic text. On the right is a messy, marked-up notebook sketch. Applying a 3-second sniff test reveals the difference. Real value comes from real scars, tangible mistakes, and physical adjustments. Your unique human perspective is the single asset an algorithm cannot manufacture. Solving actual problems means you have to get off the automated script. You have to look closely at the specific person or the specific process standing right in front of you, even if it isn't what you originally planned to tackle. Identify the nail you are currently resting on. Decide that the lukewarm ache of the status quo is finally uncomfortable enough for you to make a move. Rely on your own human perspective to scan the room, because the solution to your biggest operational headache is probably sitting right there, 3 feet away.